Okay, the Sasaki suspense is over. And oh boy, let the Dodger hate begin.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am yours, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers could bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. And just leave messages here on the YouTubes. That's how you can get a hold of me. Roki Sasaki signed with the Dodgers. He signed with the Dodgers, and there's a lot to unpack here. And a couple of you who are already in watching the live feed are saying something that is a little predictable, not 100% based in reality, and I'll explain that later, but a little predictable there. He signed with the Dodgers. It looked like it was coming down to 3. I did think he was going to go to San Diego. I did think he was going to go to San Diego at one point, but I guess in the end I should have known better. Let's say you're Roki Sasaki, and if you are, can you lend me a little money? Let's say you're 23 years old. Let's say you're a star pitcher who is looking to come and make a splash in the United States. Where would you sign? Would you sign with a team that just won the World Series, is loaded with talent? That talent's going to be together for the next few years. You already have 2 countrymen on the team, and under all circumstances, you are the 3rd most popular Japanese player on the team. You already have an ace. You already have you have an ace in Yamamoto. You have a 2-time Cy Young Award winner in Blake Snell. You're going to have some combination of, Tyler Glasnow, possibly, because, he's never completely healthy. Maybe Dustin May, who I'm not convinced he could be a mummy at this point. You have young pitchers like Landon Knack, who already has a World Series ring to his on his finger. You have Tony Gonsolin still cashing a check, and even Clayton Kershaw will make 6 starts this year. And you've got a lineup where Mookie Betts and Teoscar Hernandez and World Series MVP Freddie Freeman have no chance to be the MVP because Ohtani's there. And they're a smart organization. They are a smart, or it's not just that they have piles of money. They do have piles of money, but they're smart. They use analytics well. They play good fundamental defense. You saw them in the World Series where they were missing at least 3 starting pitchers, and they still managed to win the World Series. They still got there all the way. They beat a really good San Diego team, an upstart Mets team, and a talented but really sloppy Yankee team. And they've got a good farm system. The farm system's always churning out players who either A, can fill in the void from an injury, or B, allow them to make trades down the line. Where would you go? Would you go anywhere else? Why? Sasaki saw a chance to play on the biggest stage, guaranteed to be playing in October. And remember, he's young. He is young. He's not the polished Yamamoto. He's 23 years old and had tremendous success in Japan. And now he has a chance to develop, to show up and play well in the Dodgers organization without the pressure of being the ace of the team. And he's now a 24-year-old millionaire. 24, 23. Well, I just said the age. 23-year-old millionaire who is guaranteed to be playing in October. And as everyday Sully listener Jeff Cohen says, they have an absolutely beautiful ballpark. They do. They have one of the best ballparks in baseball. They're going to be playing, I mean, they're going to draw 3 million fans at least. They're the most popular team in the world right now. And he signed with them. Yes, he could sign with San Diego. He could have signed with San Diego and be the team that beat the Dodgers. Now, remember, the Padres did beat the Dodgers in the playoffs a few years ago, and the Padres were this close to beating them again this year. They could have done that and be the great hero who finally delivers a World Series title to San Diego and play alongside Yu Darvish. That would be fun. Is that more fun than joining the Dodgers? He could have signed with Toronto, and we're going to talk about Toronto a little bit later, and be the great big hero of a whole country. He would be the hero of 2 countries, neither of them the United States, leading a Canadian team back to the promised land and being beloved in his home country of Japan. He signed with the Dodgers. That's smart for him. That is a really smart deal. And this, this is not a situation of, oh God, well, they're buying another player. They outbid everyone. No, because he didn't post, he didn't sign, he didn't become available as a free agent. He did so before his 25th birthday. So he is now just a regular international amateur free agent, which is lunacy. He wasn't an amateur, but that's where he falls under. And there's a cap on it. You can't spend over a certain amount of money on that. I don't 100% understand how it works, but he couldn't hold out for the Yamamoto money or the Ohtani money for that matter, which is why I thought it was banana boats that other teams that normally couldn't be in on a big free agent signing like this were not going guns a-blazing for Roki Sasaki. The Dolans are billionaires. They run the Guardians. The Guardians are probably the favorite to win the Central. That franchise, back when they were called the Indians, won the World Series in 1948, where they beat the Boston Braves. And that's the last time they won the World Series. If they could, put together a winning team, they could, in a completely wide open American League, Sasaki could make the difference. I've made that point before. All these other teams should have been falling over themselves, making pitches. You'll be the great hero of this, great hero of that. And Sasaki says, I don't care. I'm going to go to the Dodgers. I'd rather win. I'd rather pick up that early ring. Jesus Garcia, who's an everyday Sully, big Dodger fan, says, I can't hear all the hate from other fans from way up here on the top. Yep, this is why people hate Dodger fans. But let me tell you something, Jesus Garcia. As someone who grew up in New England, a big-time Red Sox fan growing up, when the Sox started winning World Series titles, people started hating the Red Sox big time. There was no more of that lovable loser. People just hated the Red Sox. Let me tell you something, Jesus Garcia. It's more fun to be hated because you're good. Revel in this, Jesus Garcia. You can't blame Sasaki. You can't. This is an ideal situation. This is a situation you would ask from a genie. I get to go develop with very little pressure on me and play in a place where there's already tremendous fan base from the Japanese fans. And I get to play alongside Ohtani, got to play alongside Yamamoto, have a chance to play in the World Series, which we know doesn't always work out. We've seen 100-win teams, hell, a couple of Dodger 100-win teams not making it out of the division series. The 2019 Dodgers probably should have won the World Series that year, but they're going to get past Washington. The 2022 or 2021 Dodgers won 106 games. They couldn't get out of the National Championship Series. The next team won 100 some odd games. They lost to San Diego. The next team was a terrific team, and they lost to Arizona. Teams could beat them in October, but you're going to October. There is no way you could blame Sasaki. And when we come back, we'll talk about the fact you can't blame the Dodgers. This is not them buying out other teams, and it's also, quite frankly, they're playing the game as ownership the way you're supposed to. All right, let's hear from our good friends over at Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That's happened to me. I've had a few subscriptions for, I can't name them, but let's just call them, streaming movie places. And I saw that I had a couple of accounts going on there. Come on, Rocket Money made it easy for me to track them down. And it's like having a personal assistant for all your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. And with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting every month, although you should budget. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Rocket Money. Let's save dough. This is Jesus Garcia say, I finally see why I hated the Yankees for the late 90s, early 2000s, but the Dodgers injury bug is their greatest nemesis. You know what's also the greatest nemesis? Chances. I made this point, Jesus Garcia, and other people should listen to me. In the last 100 years, the Cincinnati Reds of 1975 and 1976 are the only National League team to win back-to-back titles. Not the Gas House Gang, not the Boys of Summer of Brooklyn, not the Willie Mays Giants, not the Henry Aaron Braves. They came close. They came within one swing. Not the Bob Gibson Cardinals or the Drysdale and Koufax Dodgers, not the Lasorda Dodgers, not the Mets of the 80s. The Bobby Cox Braves came really close. They won in 1995 and had a lead in the series in 1996. The Philadelphia Phillies came close. They won the World Series in 2008, and they won the opening game of 2009. But we haven't had a National League team win back-to-back titles, with the exception of the Big Red Machine, in a century. And since the advent of free agency in the mid-1970s, no National League team has repeated. Since the advent of free agency, only the Bronx Zoo Yankees, the Cito Gaston Blue Jays, and the Joe Torre Yankees. Those are our only repeat champions. It's always the same teams every year. That's factually untrue. Now, this is, by the way, Jeffrey Garcia says, Dodgers choke if they lose. Dodgers champions don't count. Now they get all the players and they ruin baseball. Make it make sense. Let's go Dodgers. Yeah, the Dodgers can't win even if they win. But the Dodgers are doing what you're supposed to do if you're a team that has a lot of money. Remember, again, I've made this point before, but let's be Superman and spin around the world and bring us back all the way back to 2011. 2011, the McCourts were running the team into the ground. We're treating the team like it's their personal ATM machine. Attendance was down. People were being beaten up in the parking lot. And the Dodgers could not compete to sign big-time free agents, even when some were sitting there. They lucked into a couple of playoff spots, but eventually became uncompetitive at the beginning of the 2010s. The new ownership came in and said, there's a new sheriff in town. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. The Dodgers were a dead from the neck up organization because the organization was horribly run. Was that better for baseball? When the Dodgers were run by the McCourts, who were about to bankrupt the Los Angeles Dodgers? Or is this better? I made the point. The people get mad at are the people in Cleveland, the people in Miami, people who have money. The billionaire Fisher, who runs the Sacramento A's. They have the audacity to put a Sacramento patch on them, on their uniform. The Dodgers are doing what they're supposed to do. Dodgers do what you'd want to do if you have an ownership that has lots of money and wants to be aggressive. They put a winning product on the field year in and year out, and they don't win every year. They've won it all twice. But they're always putting something good on the field, and they're always trying to put together a quality product. That's what we should want as baseball fans, whether you're a Dodger fan or not. And you know what? Baseball is also better when there's a good villain. Now, we had a really terrific villain recently with the Houston Astros, winning championships and doing it like, twirling their mustache. As for the Padres, I wonder if he took one look at the Padres situation and said, like, I don't know if they're about to have a soap opera there. Do I want any part of that? But the fact of the matter is, he said, why don't I just go there? Now, I'm going to say something. I've been to Toronto. Toronto is a lovely city. And Toronto is a great sports town. Great sports fans. They support their teams. And when the Blue Jays are good, they show up big time. Last year, they were not good. They were 74 and 88. And yet, the Blue Jays had the third highest attendance in the American League. They are the team of Canada. So why doesn't anyone want their money? You do understand, even though it's Canadian money, you can still put it in the bank and it increases your available balance. You do understand that, right? And you can, you don't have to pay for the doctor. The fact of the matter is, nobody seems to want to go to Toronto. They went all in on, so many big free agents. Ohtani, they went all in on. They went all in on Sasaki. They're always going in on prospects to show that they can do it, that they're going to put together this great team. And you have a big player to play alongside Vladdy Guerrero. You have some good pitchers to go with the Gosmans and the Bassetts of the world. And nobody wants their money. Nobody wants to play there. And it's absolutely mind-boggling to me in one way, because you go there. If you win in Toronto, you are loved. Those fans love you. And they go nuts. As I said, they support the team, especially when the Blue Jays are good. They show up like crazy. Of course, they'd rather have the Maple Leafs win. But they love their team. And you have the whole country. It's the team of Canada. We're not going to see Montreal show up anytime soon. That sucks. But that's the case. But I think no small part of it is, for the last bunch of years, the Blue Jays are willing to throw money around. But no one wants to go there, which makes me think, do they see that this organization is a little bit rudderless? It goes all over the place. It's kind of like whack-a-mole. They bring in stars, they trade away stars, and they put together a good team, but it's not good enough. And then they have John Schneider, who is, not the best manager. We've seen it. He's had multiple years and has not been able to do anything. Get yourself a real manager and show the direction of the team. And also, all that money you were willing to throw to Ohtani, all that money you're willing to throw around for Sasaki and everything like that, bring that Brinks truck up to Vladimir Guerrero and say, we are going to put a team around you. We're going to put a team around you, Alejandro Kirk, Bo Bichette. We're going to put a team around all of you and spend that money. Do what the Dodgers do. But there's something about it. Get a real manager. If you like John Schneider, promote him. Put him in the front. Isn't that what you do instead of firing a manager? You promote him. You're the vice president of Beans and Franks and Beans. You're a vice president, E. But the Blue Jays clearly have money to spend, and nobody wants to cash their check. And that's a bad thing if you're a Blue Jay fan. And there's some of you out here who follow me are big Blue Jay fans. I'm going to make a reference that I think a grand total of 6 people are going to get. But if the Blue Jays were a classic cult film from the 1980s, they would be The Last American Virgin. Remember that movie where there was the guy, Gary was in love with Karen, played by the beautiful Diane Franklin, and Rick was such a jerk, but Karen was in love with Rick, and Gary did everything that Karen wanted. He was nice to her. He dried her tears. He was a shoulder to cry on. Even took her to the doctor to get that procedure that she needed that I don't want to say because it's, I don't want to cause controversy, but that was in the movie. And he knew that Rick was a horrible person, but he knew that Karen should love him. And at the end of the movie, what happens? Karen gets back together with Rick, and Gary is crying like, I did everything for her. Why doesn't she love me? Spoiler alert of The Last American Virgin. But guess what? It's The Last Canadian Virgin. Gary, they're the Blue Jays. And if anybody understood that reference, oh my God, God bless you. Hey, let's hear from our friends over at FanDuel. You know all about FanDuel, right? FanDuel, that is the best place to put your bets down for the NFL playoffs. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $300 in bonus bets. If you win your first bet, that's $300 to keep the action going. Now, we got NFL action this weekend, and this is, quite frankly, the only time of the year I really follow the NFL. But you know what? You can put your money on Houston to upset Kansas City. I'm putting my money on Buffalo to top Baltimore. Washington versus Detroit, I don't know. That's an anyone. But a surefire bet to me is that Philadelphia's going to knock off the Rams. And you could take that chance and head on over to FanDuel. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. I'm telling you, I do want a Bills-Lions Super Bowl. I don't know anything about football, but that's the Super Bowl I want because those are the two sad sack teams, and have them face off. Let's look at what some of the people in the chat are saying. Hey, Tony B is there. By the way, he's talking to Jesus at this point. So when you see this, he's not saying, Jesus, do you think deferred contracts? No, he's saying Jesus. Jesus, do you think deferred contracts will be a major topic for the upcoming collective bargaining agreement? Maybe deferred contracts will. Maybe I don't know why they would. It seems like a smart way of doing things. What the heck is going on with Alonso? No one wants him. Maybe the Brewers should sign him. He hits home runs at what's that play? Let's just call it Miller Park. I don't remember what it's called. American Life Insurance, something or another. I'm a little surprised that Pete Alonso, who played 162 games and hits a bunch of home runs, obviously hit one of the biggest home runs in the history of the Mets last year. And maybe he had a bad year the year before. He had a lot of home runs, didn't hit well. I mean, he's a little. I mean, he's not as versatile as you would want to be. He'll sign somewhere. I'd like him to resign with the Mets just because I think he He's a beloved Met, but it looks like they've moved on. By the way, someone corrected me yesterday when I was saying that the Mets signed Jesse Winker. I'm aware that Jesse Winker was on the Mets last year. They brought him back. Apparently, it's called American Family Field. That's Miller Park. Let's come on. Jeff Cohen says here in New York, Yankee fans think the owner of the Mets is bad for baseball. Is that not the stupidest thing you've ever heard after years and years of the Steinbrenners buying up stars? Now Yankee fans are whining about that. Please, I beg you. Be self-aware. Be self-aware. Hey, I'm going to bring up this, by the way. Scott Campbell, who's an everyday Sully, a big Reds fan, sent me a message on Blue Sky. In one of the 4 days of the year, I've checked Blue Sky. Scott Campbell said this, and I was really kind of touched by this. Scott Campbell said, as a kid, there was a program that caught the humor of the game every week. This Week in Baseball. If there's anyone that I feel could bring it back, it would be you. Well, Scott, first of all, that is as big a flattery as I could possibly have. I grew up on This Week in Baseball. Bam, 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 bam. Dun, 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 hosted by the great Mel Allen. And it was a type of show from a different time, remember. This was obviously before the internet. It was even before ESPN had Major League Baseball. So a show like This Week in Baseball was how I saw clips of other teams other than the Red Sox growing up in the suburbs of Boston. I didn't get to see National League games. I didn't see games that weren't Red Sox games. There was Monday Night Baseball with Howard Cosell and Al Michaels and now the late Bob Uecker. And then there was the game of the week on NBC. So, but most of the time, the game of the week would just be a Red Sox game. Every once in a while, it'd be a National League game, but it would normally be the local team. And so, in order to growing up, if I have memories of seeing Davey Lopes, Pete Rose, Mike Schmidt, Steve Carlton, all these great stars from the National League, it was watching This Week in Baseball. We saw the highlights, you saw the bloopers, Mel Allen's Twib notes and everything like that. Well, now you could get everything that This Week in Baseball had in terms of, highlights and seeing stars are available on your phone. I can see any star I want now. But there was a lot of humor. There was humor. Mel Allen was funny and had one of the great baseball voices of all time. So, and that was, believe me, that as my mother, who I know is listening to me right now, will attest, I didn't miss This Week in Baseball. When I was younger, I also didn't miss the Baseball Bunch with Johnny Bench. That was a fun show. I'd host the Baseball Bunch. But if This Week in Baseball, remember, we had to wait a whole week for highlights. Now, you need them instantly. In fact, the reason I'm doing this podcast live now is I wanted my thoughts out on this instantly. This is the Folgers dry crystal of information. But Scott, I'm very moved by that. That's a great compliment to me. It's just the purpose of a show like that is no longer with us. But who knows? Maybe Locked On MLB will become the new This Week in Baseball. So spread the word. Seriously, if you're listening to this, I got a bunch of people in the live. A bunch of people are texting stuff on here. It's in California right now. It's 9:38 in the PM on a Friday. Why aren't you out partying or going to see Wicked or something like that? No, you're here listening to me, and you know what? Tell your friends. If you're a baseball fan and you think that they would like what I'm doing here with a little clubhouse we're doing here, go tell. In fact, here's the deal. There's 21 people currently in the live chat right now. If all 21 of you can tell 1 million of your closest friends to listen to this show, boom, things will be looking up for your pal Sully. In the meantime, you can follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And the same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. Leave a message here on YouTube or go to Blue Sky Sully Baseball. I'm never really there. I'm more often on Instagram at Sully Baseball Podcast. Talking about the Roki Sasaki signing and saying, hey, you would have done the same thing. But man, oh man, I feel badly for the people of Toronto. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. please call me Sully.